above the 7.25 federal minimum wage today, which is a starvation wage. I will never forget, I'm not going to give you a long speech. I was in Detroit, Michigan, maybe a year and a half ago, and I talked to young people, mostly African-American young people, or not so young, some of them were parents, who were working in McDonald's. Never forget this. They were getting 7.25 an hour. They couldn't even get 40 hours a week. They got 20 hours a week. That's another whole issue. And they would go by bus from one job to another job to another job in order to try to stay alive on 7.25 an hour. You can't stay alive on 7.25. And when you raise the minimum wage, as I propose, to $15 an hour, you're going to take millions of people out of poverty. You're going to put money into the hands of working people. That money, as the secretary just said, is going to be recycled, because they're going to go shopping, they're going to buy a product, that store will need more workers, they'll get more money, and on it goes. So we've got to raise the minimum wage to a living wage, which is $15 an hour. We have, as again the secretary just indicated, real unemployment is almost double, or maybe is double. Would you say about what official unemployment is? Probably over 9.5%. We can put 13 million people back to work in this country, rebuilding our crumbling infrastructure, roads, bridges, water systems, all over this country, in California. People are struggling with water. 13 million jobs rebuilding our infrastructure. We're going to have to rebuild our infrastructure at one point or another, hopefully. Let's do it now. Let's put our people back to work. We, as Secretary Reich indicated, we are the only major country on earth not to guarantee health care to all people. This is not a radical idea. Maybe a radical idea to the drug companies or the insurance companies, but guaranteeing health care to all people as a right and saving middle-class families money as part of that process, nothing radical about it. The United States should join the rest of the industrialized world. Right here at the University of California at Berkeley, yeah. I believe that in the year 2016, public colleges and universities should be tuition-free and we should lower student debt. Are these radical ideas? These are not radical ideas. Nobody thinks they're radical ideas. The opposition to all of these ideas are not that they're radical ideas, not that they're unworkable ideas. The opposition comes from the fact that, yes, we are stepping on the toes of Wall Street and corporate America and the wealthiest people in this country, who, in fact, under my proposal, will have to pay their fair share of taxes. That's all that this is about. We pay for every proposal that we have brought forth, including rebuilding our infrastructure in terms of including making public colleges and universities tuition-free, including expanding and extending Social Security. And I'm delighted that just the other day, President Obama voiced his view that that is what we should be doing. Nothing radical about what we're talking about, but what we are talking about is the need, finally, to tell the billionaire class, corporate America and their media, and other people that they cannot have it all. That we are going to transform America. We are going to address the real issues facing working families. So I want to thank Bob Reich not only for the great work that he does here at the University of California, not only for the many, many books that he has written, but for his outstanding tenure as one of the great secretaries of labor in American history. Thank you all very much. Yes.
So according to the May jobs report, employers added just 38,000 jobs in May, which is the lowest number since September 2010. Republicans are blaming Obama's policies, but I wanted to get your take on what that report means for workers, right, and why the report was so bad. Right.
Well, Republicans blame Obama if it's too hot, if it's too cold, but maybe the Republicans might want to go back to the last months of the Bush administration when we were losing 800,000 jobs a month, all right? When we were running up the largest deficit in the history of this country, 1.4 trillion, and when the world's financial system, as a result of the illegal behavior and greed on Wall Street, was on the verge of collapse. Maybe some of my Republican colleagues might want to go back to 2000 and to when Bush was leaving office in 2008. But clearly, these reports, as the Secretary just indicated, this is not good. These are bad reports. These are bad labor reports. And what that tells me is that we need to put Americans back to work in a very significant way. And that tells me that we have to, among many other things, rebuild our infrastructure. $1 trillion investment over 5 years creates 13 million jobs. It also tells me that longer term, we have to rethink our trade policies, because we have lost millions of decent paying jobs over the last 30 years as corporations shut down profitable manufacturing facilities in the United States to move to low-wage countries. So obviously this jobs report is bad news for American workers. More and more workers are giving up looking for work. Real unemployment is probably double the quote-unquote official 4.7%. So we have got to understand that there is a lot of unemployment in this country, a lot of underemployment with people working part-time when they want to work full-time, and that we need a major jobs program. And one of the best ways to do that is to rebuild our crumbling infrastructure.
How do you plan to
Yeah,
implement-
excuse me, yes. Yeah, right here, yeah. Yes, David. David, what's your question?
Well, I was asking a question.
Well, I'm asking David a question, because David occasionally writes about the things,
I defer to her for now.
well, he occasionally writes about the things that we talk about.
I occasionally do too.
Well, not too often, but yes.
But how do you plan to implement this into the labor issues that you talked about, into the platform of the National Convention, and at the same
But
time?
that wasn't what, see, that's the point.
I'm
You've
talking
made this
about
into a,
legal
excuse me,
issues that you
excuse
brought
me,
up.
excuse me. You've made this a political question. Right now, what I am talking about is how we rebuild the American economy. Now, you're asking me, as I understand it, how we get this into the Democratic platform.
And how would you push for that in the future?
Well, right now, what the point of this press conference is to say Democratic National Convention or no Democratic National Convention. What Congress needs to do is to stand up for working families and the middle class. And we have an agenda to do that. And we need to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. We need to make significant reforms to our disastrous trade policies. We need to rebuild our crumbling infrastructure. Think about this. Paid family and medical leave. I used to say the United States was the only major country on earth. It's not only major countries. Poor countries all over the world understand that when women have babies, they have the right to stay home with those babies. We're one of the few countries. That's what we have to do. And what we have to do is join the rest of the industrialized world and guarantee health care to all people as a right. I'm a United States Senator from Vermont, and I hope to be President of the United States. And I'm going to do every damn thing that I can to make sure that Congress starts representing the interest of working families rather than wealthy campaign contributors. Yes.
Senator, you just talked about this massive legislation to create jobs. Now, Donald Trump is a businessman and says he actually has created jobs, so why should Americans believe that you can do the job better?
Well, Donald Trump has also created 4 bankruptcies. Because I have a record as a United States Senator and a former congressman of standing up for working families. I don't think, to be honest with you, that among economists, even some conservative economists, that there is a lot of debate about what has to happen. The real challenge is that we have right now a Congress, especially a Republican-led Congress, which is much more interested in protecting the interests of their wealthy campaign contributors than the needs of the American people. I think that every idea that I have laid out here and I've laid out in this campaign has majority support, not only from Democrats, but from progressives, but from Republicans as well. This is a pretty commonsensical idea. The people who do not support it are the people who make huge campaign contributions, the people on Wall Street, the people who are the CEOs of large multinational corporations. And I'm sorry that they don't support it, but if I'm elected president, what they're going to learn is that our government is going to represent all of the people and not just wealthy and powerful special interests.
Senator, is there an action you would recommend the president take now that he doesn't need Congress to go through?
Well, I think, he has begun, and his work on overtime is something that we have worked with him on, and I think that's a great step forward. I think a lot of the initiatives that we need are going to need congressional action. And what I would urge the president to do in the remaining months of his tenure is to get out to the people and rally the American people around a progressive agenda. Raising the minimum wage is a no-brainer. Vast majority of the American people believe we should do that. Rebuilding our crumbling infrastructure, paid family and medical leave. President just the other day spoke out on the need to expand and extend Social Security, a step in the right direction. I would like to see him do more of that. The way we bring change in this country is when millions of people stand up and demand that change. That is what this campaign is about.
Senator,
Yes, sir.
I mean, you've been in the Bay Area a lot this week. How would you describe just how the crowds are reacting to your message? And also, will you be in the Bay Area on June 7th?
Well, let me answer the first part. We are running, and somebody honestly can correct me here who knows more about California politics than I do. I think, and I've been told, that what we are doing is unprecedented. That means that in a several-week period, we will have held some 30 rallies in every part of this state. It now looks like, because the size of the turnouts has been larger than we had anticipated, my guess is that by the time we are finished with this campaign on Monday, we will have spoken to 250,000 Californians, 250,000 Californians. I don't know that, I may be wrong in this, but I'm not aware that any other candidate has spoken personally to that many people. And that's been the essence of our campaign. The response has been extraordinary. And that's the point that I'm trying to make here. None of these ideas are radical ideas. You know, these are common sense ideas. And the American people, and this is what the anger is about, they are sick and tired of seeing a Congress talk about tax breaks for billionaires, doing nothing about the high cost of prescription drugs. The agenda that we are laying out is a popular agenda. It's what the American people want, and I think it is reflected in the size of the turnouts that we're seeing. At this point, I think we will probably be in California on Tuesday night.
So in California, or so you?
Honestly, where are we going to be on San Francisco, right? Oh, LA. Okay, we'll be in LA, I think. Yeah.
Hi. So, most academics and experts tend to agree on the issues of, climate change that it's happening and agree that wealth inequality is increasing. But this election seems to show that a lot of the American people, at least, don't see that that's happening. Not necessarily majority.
Don't see what is happening.
Don't agree that necessarily climate change is happening. I mean, I'm not saying that it's a majority, but there are some Americans who
Well,
don't.
some do, yeah.
Right, and there's some contention over the facts. How would you, as president, shift the debate away from the facts and toward, what we should do?
Well, I think that what has happened in recent years, and I would credit the Pope Francis, his encyclical on climate change is playing an important role. I'm on the Environmental Committee in the Senate. And the deniers, those people who say, oh, climate, like Donald Trump, those people who say that climate change is a hoax, their voices are becoming a bit more muted because it's just hard